Welcome to Esther's Universe. It's a magical place full of authenticity, creativity, and joy. It's where anything is possible as science and spirituality come together to teach you how to step into your power and raise your vibration. So together we can heal the collective and make a positive impact on the world. If you love the pod, please share it and enjoy. Guys, I'm exploding in gratitude. I just came back from 2 weeks away with my bestie Sonia, and my entire life changed. There was life before this holiday, and now there's life after this holiday. I had a really strong feeling in me just before leaving that I had to hit the road and go south, and I didn't really have a plan. I messaged Sonia. She was like, yep, come down. And then I was like, maybe we'll go on a road trip. And then our whole plan changed, and a million times over, because my intention before going on the road trip, like when the energy came through to go on this road trip, it was all about excitement about the unknown. I felt so excited to just go and say like approximately 2 weeks works, and I'll sort of just come back whenever it feels right. And I wanted to be present. I wanted to be so present the whole time, as much as I could. And those intentions, like I didn't even have to try. Like I set those intentions and it was just the common theme of the trip. Like Sonia was in the exact same energy. She was in the exact same inspiration of just, yeah, let's do this together. And we went to Sydney and we stopped at, a bunch of places along the way, and we didn't know where we were going to stay. We had nothing booked. We didn't even have set places that we knew we could like pull up and sleep in the car safely or anything like that. Like there was nothing planned. We literally had one stop where a friend was like, yeah, you can come. And we didn't even know if we were actually going to get there or what would happen along the way. But we did end up staying at that friend's house for the night, wandered around the next day, and then we just left again with like the very next clue that came up. And we just kept following clues and messages from people the entire time. And all these different things happened, and all these different relationships were formed, and these lessons were experienced, and so much excitement and so much transmutation and just so much presence and being with our bodies and our breath and focus, and also like total surrender and unknown and gratitude constantly. And oh my God, and we had basically no money. Like there were days where we were like, okay, cool, we're down to like $30 now. How are we going to spend it? And then the next day money would just rock up again for whatever we needed, whenever we needed it. It was so unknown. I was like, God, I hope I can get home like fuel, you know what I mean? And it all worked out so well. And so Sonia and I realized that we are like professional at being grateful with what we have in the present moment, and being creative at living our best possible lives with exactly what we have at hand. We don't sit around in energy of like, oh, well, if only I had this, then I could do that. If only I was ready for this, then I could do that. If only I was, like if there's something we suddenly want to do, we're like instantly problem solving, and we do the absolute closest reality that we can create to what we have regarding the inspiration, you know what I mean, with what we have at hand. And that's a really powerful set of skills to have. And we were like, we need to share this. We need to share the way that we live. And suddenly we felt like this strong urge to start, building a brand together, essentially. Not literally like, not a product, just turning the essence of us into something bigger than us that we can share with everyone, like a community, a way of being, a lifestyle, if you will. And so we took the thing that is such a beautiful synchronicity for us, which is the black swans that swim outside in my waterway out the back of my place. We see this one always, this one black swan always goes by when there's something very truthful being said or experienced, and it's like a confirmation. So we called him Wunyo after the rune of joy and abundance and alignment and bliss and all of those beautiful things and unity. And we were referring to the swan as Wunyo for ages, and we saw the swan a million times on our trip, and like just in different symbols everywhere and all the different numbers that we love so much that were guiding us along the way. And we decided to just like go for gold. Like, we're going to do a retreat and just fucking send it with that, based on the present moment, literally teaching people how to do exactly what we just did, so that you can feel it in your body and be like, I understand. You know what I mean? And we started a podcast. Like, literally, we didn't know we were going to start a podcast until an hour before we started the podcast. And then we recorded the first episode immediately and had it online the next day. Like, what? We did branding for the website. The website's currently being built. We're just building that ourselves, obviously. Like, we created this really cool intro for the podcast with this amazing song. What else have we done? We recorded, like, I think another episode today. Oh, then we recorded a course that we're going to put up on our website to guide people through how to do this. And currently, again, this might change because we're the queens of fucking pivoting. We follow a carrot and we align our frequency with the inspiration and what feels right at the time. And then as soon as it doesn't align anymore, we feel it and we go pivot to wherever the next stage of alignment is. And we're just like, do. So right now, it appears to be going in the direction of do it with a friend and like you both pay, you know, like one of you can transfer the other or whatever, like sort it out amongst yourselves kind of thing. But there'll be like afterpay and stuff like that. And you literally do it with a friend, like the two of you commit together, because Sonia and I understand the power of doing this with someone else to use as a mirror who's on the same trajectory as you or has the same goals of arriving at the same kind of levels of presence and gratitude and surrender and stuff like that. And that's just really wholesome. Like, there's so many amazing, beautiful benefits that go along with doing this with someone else. But it's not going to be a compulsory thing, obviously. And yeah, so I got back today and I was just sort of sitting outside reflecting on all of this and feeling not foreign in my home. I feel good here. I don't know, it just looks different. Like, the unit that looked like it was kind of closing in on me a little bit before I left looks bigger and wider and more open. There's more space in here because there's more space in me. You know what I mean? It's so cool how when your perspective changes so much, everything in your world changes with it. Incredible. So I'm going to put the link to Sonia and I's first episode in the show notes of this ep because it's that fucking good. Like, the story that I just told you was like the cliff notes of all of the incredible lessons that we learned and how we did it, and the fun, like, hilarious stories that are in it along the way as well that are in that episode. Like, that episode is full of the juice of the trip that will give you a really good insight on like how I actually made these massive changes within myself and had the best time ever, and how we live like this. It's so fun, guys. Like, I live like this in my everyday life anyway, obviously, but this was next level. This was like, I threw myself entirely into the unknown. I had to transmute oh my God, so many things, but it was like, I was so willing. It's not like I was like, oh, I'm transmuting another thing. If I saw something to transmute, I was like, bring it the fuck on. In the best way ever. Some things were really light and fun and hilarious, and other things were like, I went through one of the most physically painful transmutations while on this trip. Sonia was surfing and I was at home alone, and I was trying to read. Like, I was just vibing at first, and then I was trying to read, and I couldn't like focus on the page, and I was like, okay. And then I checked in my body because I was like, that's not normal. I was like, body, what's up? And I just suddenly felt the urge to lay down. I was like, okay. So I laid down and I was like, what's going on? And I was just being really present with myself and how I felt. And I was being like the observer and the witness to the situation. I was also being the human who obviously had fear and anxiety and stuff somewhere wanting to come up and get out. And so as the human who was experiencing it all, I had this, I kind of let myself just sort of zone into my breath. And then I had this visual come through of a movie. I think it has like Emma Stone in it. I can't remember what it's called, but she's in this almost like culty sort of situation. But there's suddenly this situation where there's all these people watching her all the time. Like she's got cameras in every room of her house. And then her life turns to shit. And all of her relationships suffer and people get hurt and all these things go wrong. And that came into my head, and I nearly brushed the thought off to go move on to the next thought because I was like, random. And then I was like, wait. Why did I just see that? Like, why did that come up? I haven't seen that movie in so long. Why did that come up? And I asked myself. And then I was like, well, if you think about it as a metaphor, I have a still, well, not anymore, but I had still remnants of a fear of being seen. And as someone who so deeply values sharing expression and creativity with others to connect and create momentum among all of us, I really value being seen, right? So having fear of the thing that I value is not an aligned thing for me. I'd rather move the fear out of the way and be completely aligned. And it saves energy. You get to where you want to be faster, la la la. So many good things about that. So I noticed what that flash in my head of the movie was telling me. And I was like, okay, body, what if that happens? Put yourself literally, like pretend, like zoom yourself in as if you're in that movie and be in her body in the parts where you remember like watching it and stuff like that. Like, how did she feel when her life was turning to shit? How did she feel when the people that she loved were suffering because of this whole cameras on her all the time and the world constantly watching? And I kind of put myself into it and I was like literally finding it hard to even imagine. And I was like, am I finding it hard to imagine because I just trust myself so much, or am I finding it hard to imagine because the fear is so great it's hiding from me? I couldn't tell, so I just pushed in further. I was like, okay, I want to feel it. Like, let me feel it. And so then, because I set the intention to feel this like inevitable, like, because like initially it was just like this slight bubbling of anxiety, just a slight little like, oh, feeling a bit anxious, you know? And then the more I kind of pushed into it and breathed into it and just allowed myself and was like, it's okay. Like, I'm going to be aware with myself this entire time, but feel it. And I just kept going in further and further and further. It was almost like I was going down this like dark tunnel that was kind of like a tree root or something, like inside the absolute depths of my being. And it's not that I necessarily saw a visual of what I just said to you then, but that's kind of what it felt like. It literally felt like I was like just continuously descending further and further into this anxiety, into this feeling of fear in my body, to the point where I actually thought I was going to get up and start vomiting. Like it was so intense that I thought that I was going to just start literally fucking hands on, like I got visuals of it. My body was like throwing up visuals into my third eye of me, hands and knees, vomiting. And I was like just breathing with the anxiety. And then anytime I had that come up, I was like, I'm still here with myself. It's okay. And I was like, I'm setting the intention to purge this energy through my skin. Like, I understand. Thank you for telling me I'm purging. Like, that's great. But I'm choosing to do it energetically through my skin. And because I just didn't feel like getting up and vomiting. That honestly would have been a distraction. I was really keen to see this thing through. Anyway, so I was seeing these visuals of myself, hands on my knees, vomiting, and I was like, no, I want it to come out of my skin. And then I went back into the feeling. Well, I was always in the feeling, but I went back into focusing on the feeling and allowing myself to deepen within it, and just being so present with my breath and just breathing into the parts of my body as if I had nostrils in my solar plexus, like my stomach area, and in my heart and in my throat. I was just really feeling it in those spots. And then I was like, I kind of came in as my awareness self, like the part of me that is the universe. And I was like, okay, now you can make a choice. And then I was like, okay, I choose to rise up out of this now. I choose to go on the upward spiral. Like, I understand this feeling and I understand that I have the capacity to hold this energy. The fear is it's only fear because of my perception of this energy. It's actually a huge load of energy. But I was so scared to use it because I didn't know how to use it. I didn't know if I was good enough to use it. I didn't know if I was safe enough to use it, because I understand on a soul level that energy that big, that monumental, I understand the impact that that can have on the world, and I understand the ripple-on effect of that will be eyes on me. And so instead of being scared of it and feeling unsafe, unworthy, incapable of handling it, all that, I showed myself by being with it and sitting with it as long as I wanted and breathing into it and consciously being there with myself. I showed myself that I can hold that energy. I can handle allowing myself to operate at that frequency, at that level of energy without suppressing it, allowing myself to be that seen, you know what I mean? And yeah, so that was really, really big. And so it wasn't an immediate fix. I set the intention. I made the choice that I was going to come up and out of it now. But I honestly was in so deep that I didn't quite know the road out. I was just maintaining presence with myself. Kind of like when a dog is really focused on the owner, like when there's a gold cord between them, basically, like the owner does any little movement with their hand or their eyes and the dog just always locked on and fully obeys like whatever the owner is saying. It was like that. I was just locked on with my awareness self, and I was like, I fully trust and surrender in this entire situation. I'm not going to try and control how I heal this, or even, you know what I mean? Like whatever feels right is what I'm going to do. And that's how it was. So I just sort of would breathe and wait. And then I was just breathing and I was breathing, and I was having these kind of memories come through of like, hey, remember why you do this. Remember why you push yourself so far into fear, so far into the depths of your feelings. Like you do it because you know that you can help others. You do it because you know it's going to be the absolute direct path to your most aligned, highest self. You do it because you know it leads to all of your beautiful desires and joys and things that make you happy. And those thoughts just kept coming in, and I was like flooding myself with empowerment, basically. It was incredible. And I was feeling myself become a bit lighter, because it honestly, previously when I was in that black kind of spiral, it felt like I was magnetized to the earth. Like if I tried to get up, I wouldn't have been able to. I didn't have the physical strength. It didn't feel like it. I'm sure I could have. If someone yelled fire, I would have. But you know what I mean? Like it felt like I weighed 1,000 kilos or something. And then I started to feel like more vitality was moving through me, because I wasn't any longer sitting in a really low, dense vibration. So I allowed myself to go into that really low vibration. I became really heavy. It became hard to move. That's how low I allowed myself to go. Because by going that low, I now have the capacity to go the equal and opposite direction high, if that makes sense, right? So remember that for your own journey. As low as you're willing to encourage yourself to go is as high as you're going to go, right? So anyway, I suddenly felt this hot heat feeling rushing over my body. Like I just suddenly became so aware of my skin. The energy was just like transforming. It was like flipping inside of itself kind of thing. It was going from being slow and cold and damp and dark to being like hot and fast and simmering. It felt like I was steaming. I was like, whoa. And then I suddenly had heard this like kind of knowing come through my entire body. It came through as like energy. It came through as a voice of my own voice in my head. It came through as a visual. It came through as a desire, like all of it. I just got hit with this feeling to go get in the fucking shower and just wash the energy and reset, essentially, and set the intention, like as the water rushes over me, to calm, because I was still feeling anxiety. It wasn't as bad as like when I was magnetized to the floor, but it was the kind of anxiety you'd feel probably just before a panic attack. It was still really intense. And so I'm in the shower and I was like, just had a cold shower, like put it just on cold because I know that I can kind of shock my nervous system. and I every time I put my head under the cold, I exhaled. So when you exhale, as you do something like that, you're training your body to stay in the parasympathetic nervous system and handle stressful situations better and become more resilient. So I was like kind of commanding myself in that moment using temperature and breath to step into that part of myself that's really resilient. And so I did that, and then I could think clearly again. And then I kept reminding myself that even like reality can change at any moment. And I have let go of trying to fucking dictate literally any of it. Like, I don't need to. And so even the whole thing about, I have this current desire of like expressing creatively and connecting with others and being seen so that this energy can bounce around the world. But that reality might even change, you know what I mean? So I was like, not only was I holding on to fear of being seen and not being worthy and, scared of the energy and if I can handle it and stuff like that, but I was also attaching to a reality and stressing about whether or not I was going to do the thing that I wanted to do. So there was like a couple of things there, that kind of like shook loose as well. And I just let go of all of it. I don't really have expectations of this anymore. I'm just really keen to share the froth, which I have been doing this whole time, but I've been holding myself back energetically by having expectations of myself and trying to meet my own expectations when that was coming from my left brain, my analytical mind, the mind that's, more about survival and productivity and stuff like that. And then, what I've done now is I've shifted into allowing my right brain, the right-hand side of my brain, it's the one that's more associated with your imagination, creativity, feminine energy. That is now how do I say this? It's like, that's the one that speaks first, and then the left brain listens and acts, if that makes sense. So aim toward that yourself if you can. Also, if you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm stressing out, remember that you're highly functioning on the left-hand side of your brain when that's happening, and stop and take some breaths, like close your eyes if you're not driving, and breathe in through your right nostril. And I mean, like, don't close your left nostril. Literally just set the intention and focus on your breath only going in your right nostril. And don't be like, am I doing it right, wrong, right? There's no fucking right or wrong. However you're doing it is fine. Just focus on the air coming through your right nostril. And you'll be breathing into the right-hand side of your brain. So that's your intention as well. So you're focusing on the air coming in through your right nostril and breathing into the right-hand side of your brain. And just feel that breath, like put your eyes basically inside your own nostril and into your own right-hand side of your brain, and just breathe in there and allow it to just be nothing. Allow it to be literally fucking nothing. Nothing needs to happen. Absolutely nothing needs to happen. If something happens, whatever, go with that, but nothing needs to happen. And that will calm you the fuck down. You'll be able to think clearly. And that's the place where all of your actual aligned wisdom comes from. So if something does come through and that feels right, act on that. Anyway, can't even remember where I was going with any of this. I was transmuting, got in the shower, felt better in the shower, was reminding myself of all these things, came out, told Sonia about it because I told her when I was in it, because she was like, hello, because she came back from her surf, and then she was just walking around, doing some washing and stuff, because I was like, hey, I'm just like transmuting something massive, and she was like, oh, good. And she just held a beautiful energy in the background, so that was nice. And then I came out and I was talking about it, and she was just so happy for me, and I was like, and I realized this and this and this and this and this, and she was like, oh my God, it's amazing. I was like, this is fucking huge. And then I had to go outside and have a nap. I literally slept on the grass for like an hour. And then I got up and we went to a friend's house, and then came back, and I went to bed super early and slept in super late the next day. And my body was like fucking doozed by that transmutation. But I set myself the fuck free. Everything feels different now. And I really hope that you listen to the episode that Sonia and I did on the Wunyo. It's called Wunyo's Blessings, our podcast. Because we get so excited when something aligned happens or abundance comes in some way. And we're like, oh my God, we're so grateful for Wunyo's blessings, because Wunyo is the rune of joy and abundance. And it's also the name of our swan, which is a real life swan. And it's also a symbol. Anyway, that has so much wisdom in it, it's not even funny. And this episode has so much wisdom in it, it's not even funny. So hopefully you loved everything that you heard, and hopefully it helps you in some way. Not even hopefully, fuck that. I believe, I'm not even hoping, I dead ass know that this is going to help. Anyway, I'm just really loving being alive. And it blows my mind that like 2 years ago I wanted to die. I changed everything. And now I'm like, holy fuck, I'm a powerful person. I can do anything. I can handle everything. I have let go of being anything. I am literally no one particular thing. I am now the constant potential to be anything that I want. Guys. Honestly, if you want to follow my path, it leads to such a good time. Anyway, if you haven't yet, check out my app. It's called Theta app. There's a ton of meditations and hypnosis tracks on there, and I've made all of them, and they are designed to shift your energy and shift your mind, shift your state of being, help you manifest everything that you want in your life, help you undo the things that, you know, like any of your shadow work. All my meditations and hypnosis tracks literally hit so many different areas of the personal development journey. It's not even funny. Like, I've made them all for myself. I was like, I need a meditation for this, so I'm going to make it. I need a hypnosis track for this, so I'm going to make it. I need this for this, so I'm going to make it. Anything I was going through that I worked through, I made a meditation for, and the meditation helped me get out the other side. And I just made more and more and more and more. So I hope you love them. There's also courses on there, like how to start a podcast, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff. Check it out. There's a big fucking journal prompt thing to help you transform your story about yourself as well. It's a big one. It's a good one, though. It's not, you know, you can do it quickly if you want. It's no big fucking deal. Relax. Anyway, I just realized my finger was on the mic for like ages. Sorry. Yeah. Check out all the things. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. Please rate this show or send this episode to a friend or whatever you like. Help me share this in some way if it's inspired you, if you want to pass on the inspiration. Thank you. I love you.